forever together. Run away, run away, run away with me. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I'm gonna talk about a random subject. I've just been watching America's Next Top Model Cycle 11 on YouTube, and I just randomly thought up of something, which is, rich people deserve to be rich. You deserve to be rich. You worked for it, and you're creative enough to maintain such a high income lifestyle, because you don't have to be stuck in a minimum wage job, and you don't have to work your way up from the very, very bottom. You can literally prepare yourself for a high paying job, or just a decent job that may start with a minimum wage, but it's like more of a clean cut type of job. It doesn't all have to be labor. It doesn't all have to be like, I know that some high paying jobs are labor involved, like construction work, but I mean, like, it doesn't have to be like kind of labor that you really don't want to be doing, that you feel like there's no meaning to it. For example, like just cleaning. I'm not saying people who just clean are like all in the same situation. Some people don't mind it. Some people make good money out of just cleaning all the time. But just for an example, you can find the job that you really want by just changing your approach to money. It doesn't all have to be so difficult. It doesn't have to be, you have to have a hard, difficult time in order to make much money. You have to sacrifice more than you need to, You're allowed to enjoy yourself. You're allowed to have a splurge every now and then. You're allowed to be rich. You're allowed to be wealthy, with the mindset that you will eventually make abundance in your life. Not necessarily for like the material concept of being like, oh, so rich, not for that idea necessarily, but if you have a dream of living a fancy life, because it's so aesthetic, because it's so freeing, because then you'll be able to do whatever you want, then just change your mind and you can really do it. Like, just with every intent, every step you make, every step you take, basically the same thing. Well, kind of, because, step you make could be like you plan it in your head. Step you take could be doing it by action, things like that. So yeah, this is in regards to, on the America's Next Top Model comments and like video comments, and some of the things that were being said in the actual video by some of the people. It's like one of the girls was confiding in two other girls, saying that her mother does not love her mother. And then the other two girls were like, why don't you love your mother? Because it's just weird to the eyes of people who grew up with loving mothers. Like, how could you not love your mum, But then they don't know her story. So they were asking, why don't you love your mum? And she said, well, she hasn't been... I don't know what she said, but like she opened up to them. But she didn't want to tell them too much detail because... like, you're allowed to have privacy, and then one of the girls was like, she was angry, and to the camera, when she was alone in front of the camera, she was like, oh, she's an evil bitch, how can you not love your mother, like, and she asked the girl, like, does she put a roof over your head? Does she give you food and clothing? And the girl who said that she hates her mother said, yes, but those are not love. And that, to me, signals that there's something so deep and dark going on in her mind about her mother, like the way she treated her, maybe brought her up, that it outweighs the material goods she received, money, house, clothing. Those are basic needs for survival, but that's not what life is about. That's not what life is about. That's the fundamental part of upkeeping your life. It's obvious. That's like the one thing that you should always have going. Clothing, food, shelter. But that doesn't mean that that should be the end all be all. You should just be happy with just that. You know, you should learn to be content with whatever situation you're in, but that's kind of different from being really happy about it, you know. And if you're not thriving while growing up for 18 long years or even more, depending on how long you take to save up your money and move out of your nest, that is really, really, you know, heart-wrenching for a young child to grow up in such a household where she doesn't have any love, or if she's like abused every day mentally or physically, anything, but she still receives some money, clothing, shelter. That does not mean that that will make her happy necessarily. So the other girls, they didn't really understand. Well, I'm not sure about the second girl who was talking to the girl who said she didn't love her mum, but the one who called her an evil bitch, on her own, like in front of the camera when she was alone, she really didn't understand. She really didn't get it. So to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is bad for misunderstanding her. And this girl is definitely not bad for opening up and saying that she doesn't love her mother. Because love is a complex thing. And if you genuinely felt that you did your best, but you couldn't love your mother because you felt like you genuinely did not receive any from her and it just doesn't feel like there's any love there, then that's how it is, you know. For a lot of people, it's like that. Some people have loveless relationships, you know. There is not much difference there, you know. It's not too hard to understand it when you twist your mind in that way. Like, oh yeah, that can happen, you know. You sometimes have friends that you don't necessarily like too much as other friends, but you're kind enough because you see the benefits of staying in that friendship that, you know, they're still cool in other ways. Things like that. So, you know, it's a yin and yang balancing out thing. And the reason I wanted to talk about this as an example is to show that no one is really bad for doing something. And we really need to see a bit more deeper, or rather than deeper, like into the details, it's a bit more like just twist your mind a bit. Like, I don't need to know every single detail, but this person is telling me with conviction that she feels this way about something. Maybe there's a real reason about it. You know, and you can kind of get a vibe about the person's intent as well. If it feels pure, then it is pure. If it feels malicious, then maybe there's something brewing underneath. Maybe she is a bad person at heart, you know, but I don't truly believe anyone is really bad. It's to do with lack of balance within themselves. But maybe they really are being malicious. Or maybe they really just don't like something that they felt was done wrong unto them and they just need time to overcome it. Whatever it is, we can't judge too quickly and like stereotype them as, you know, being ungrateful, things like that. And that's why I also want to talk about things like money. You know, some people think that when people are rich, that they really don't know what the hardships of life are, that they don't work as hard, that they're not really working, that they're just getting easy money, that they don't really value or see the real world as and the hardships and the sacrifices made and the value of everything they earn, you know, like clothing or like rich fancy cars, houses, or just promotions, projects, travels, you know, whatever, all those things. You know, a lot of the majority of like less than rich people, kind of have this view that rich people are like that they don't value it as much as them, as the people who don't have it. But actually, that's not true at all. It's because they value it. 99% of the times, people who work for their money do value it. Maybe their children could end up a little ignorant or spoiled, but once they grow out of the nest, they will know. They will know that you cannot keep so much money unless you've really been just pampered. There are some people like that, but that's really narrowing it down more than you think, because all these people who have all these luxuries, it's because they have this different mindset. They have the mindset that they can do it, that they can accomplish what they want to do, and many of them are actually very, very superior in the way they use their mind. I'm not saying that people who are in like poorer conditions are stupider or lower IQ necessarily, but it's everyone has the potential. I truly think that they can expand their mind, change just the way they're thinking to bring that kind of abundance into their own life. But it's their mindset that there's such a distinct difference between rich people and poor people that keeps them stuck there. They think they have to work step by step, laboring up, but that's not it. Once you realize that the opposite end of the spectrum is just the same as I am, but just in a different view, it's just like changing the color. Turn the palette around, change the color, turn it again, change every color. But the one thing that's the same about the colors is that they're all colors, and you can choose one or the other, and it's just to do with taste. It's just a color. Red is not bad, black is not bad, yellow is not bad when I am white, and white is not bad when I am blue, green is not bad when I am purple. Things like that. Once we start having more of a pretty much a neutral view on an understanding view on all of these things, that you don't necessarily have to know the details, but you just have to get the change in mindset and how you perceive it. Like, oh, okay, that reminds me of me and how I think about this certain subject. It's totally different, but I can see how they think about that certain thing, even though I don't know the details, because I know why I think about this certain thing, another subject, in this sort of way. So it reminds me of that. So I can just be understanding of that, and we can make a balanced connection that way, with whether it's friendship, business partnership, family. You can always make an equilibrium where you don't have to know the details once again, because people always go into like the material, physical details, but sometimes they can come in handy if they're directly related to exactly the subject you're talking about or the concept, but they really are not usually the main focus point. It's usually the mindset, that's why language is so freeing. It's creative. There's not really one way to speak. Some people are like, you need to spell better, you need to have better grammar. But people like me who do have perfect grammar, perfect spelling, still like to change it up a bit, because it's the intent that matters. It's about how I want to portray a point. That sometimes I'll break the rules, but that's not because I'm stupid. That's not because I'm lazy and can't be bothered to spell check. It's because for that intent, doing it the traditional English speaking way is not going to sound as powerful as the slang version or whatever way I say it. So it's not about the material, physical thing. It's about the concept behind it. It's about the makeup behind it. Ooh, makeup. It's about the intent. If we took away all the words, everything, all the material stuff, pretend we were all just floating spirits or energy balls, spheres, then you'd get exactly what I'm portraying by its actual makeup, by what it really is. You don't need complicated words and whole essay to explain something that you can just get right away. That's why a lot of really successful people, they have high intuition. Many of them are spiritual because of the high intuition thing. It kind of relates with spirituality. That's why they're better at communicating complex things as one simple concept in the split of a second. Just with one word, one sentence, the other party gets it. And they get it when the other party speaks in the same way, or whatever way, but in the same sort, with the same sort of concept, that it's the intent that they're getting quickly from each other. You know, a lot of the times there have been struggles for me trying to communicate ideas with certain people who need me to break it down physically, but that would take a whole page of explaining. You know, for me to speak out loud to them, it's just energy draining. That's why working with people who are in the same flow as you gets you places. You know, it's kind of to do with frequency levels. I think it really is just a frequency level thing as well. Even IQ levels are kind of, I believe that, I think maybe they are just frequency representatives as well. I don't think that anyone is truly an idiot, or that they're necessarily born a genius. I think there's a potential everyone has. Maybe some have a bit more than others in certain categories, but I think there's always room to improve. Even if this was your original limit, if you know that you can do more, if you want to do more, you can definitely double that, triple that. You can definitely do more. People like Bill Gates don't become rich just because they're extremely hardworking in terms of like the physical stuff. Like, oh, they work very, very hard every day in the office. That's not it. It's not about digging into the same hole every single day. It's about digging, creating this hole, and then leaving it, and looking around at the rest of the dirt around you, and digging more holes. Maybe this one will be a little deeper than that one. Maybe this one will be a triangle shape. That one will be a star shape. Maybe I'll keep digging more and more holes, but it's not like they're like hurrying from one thing to the other. It's like they're genuinely invested in this one project, and they perfect it, master it the best they can, and then they leave, master that one. Maybe they'll come back to this, edit it, revamp it, make it even better, you know, and then go on and create more and more projects, and that's how they expand. Now they have 100 holes that they've dug on this dirt field, and then there's that one mole that's digging a really, really, really deep hole, but the more they dig, the more dirt falls back into it. There's things like that, you know, when you just keep working so hard without giving yourself a break to look at the rest of your life and see what you really want to make of it, you're really diminishing your potential into this small person like this. That's why people who just work minimum wage jobs with the mindset that this is how you do it, this is the only way to do it, that you have to labor yourself to success without any other option. You know, some people could labor, but that will be just one of the 10 jobs they'd have. It's good to have a variety. Be open, creative, look at the whole bigger picture of it. You know, get the flow going. Those are the people who are more financially abundant and abundant in life itself, because they have more of a variety. But people with that narrow mindset will become narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. It doesn't mean they're dumb, it doesn't mean they're stupid. It just, oh wait, that's the same thing. It doesn't mean they were born that way. It doesn't mean that they have to stay that way. It just means that they forgot to look back up into the light. They forgot to climb back up and look at the rest of the dirt field, see what else they can do to really create the life they want. Because when you're so stuck deep into that hole, you start only seeing that darkness, only seeing that hole that's just getting smaller and smaller. And you're saying, no, if I just keep trying, I need to like make that next $15, rather than maybe $1,500 an hour instead, just by stepping out and taking more forward directions in different ways. You know, it's all about the mindset. It's not about necessarily the hours you put in, necessarily how much it physically takes out of you, how tired you become from working. It's not about that. It's about the creativity of it. It's about what you really want to get out of life. It's about allowing yourself that flow and knowing that you deserve it, knowing that the money will come, knowing that money is just a thing that everyone has access to. You know, people might look at famous people on TV and be like, oh, Illuminati, there's no way you could have gone up there without any trick, or it's just pure luck. You can make yourself lucky by working for it. You can be lucky. Luck isn't something that comes to certain people. It's something that you work for, and you're basically bringing it to you. Luck comes after you when you start putting forward that energy, that intent. So you have to know that you can do it. You know, I've been a music student, and at my music school, there were lots of music students who were already performing a lot, making decent money per week. And they were all students. All students. They weren't famous. Most of them barely had 2,000 followers. Or actually, a lot of them did have some followers, like 2,000, 3,000. You know, 1,000 was more standard. 100 even. 50 even. 10 even. But they were still making money because they were passionate about what they were doing, and they knew that they had opportunities. They knew that they could go out and make money. So just by gigging every week, things like that, they were making more than you would make as a typical student doing a part-time minimum wage job. You know, some people were already making maybe 400 a week, which is really decent for a student. Right here in New Zealand, because normally, even with the government free allowance you'd get, it will be half that price, and even that would be enough to get by per week. So 400 a week, that's really good for a student with no degree yet, things like that. So it's not about thinking that you can't do it. It's about just knowing that this world is here anyway. It's your oyster. You just gotta change your mindset and know that it doesn't have to be so difficult. It doesn't have to be like so literal, so unyielding. You know, it's not a rope. It's not like a stuck physical thing that you can't move. It's fluid. There's nothing there. It's not a brick. It's your mind thinking it's a brick. It's fluid. You can become Bill Gates. It's easy. Just know that you can do it. Just tell yourself, I'm Bill Gates. I'm rich. I'm wealthy. And it's not about the fancy cars as the main purpose of it. It's not the only thing. But if you genuinely have passion, if you've always wanted a fancy car, not for ego necessarily, but it's okay if you have a little bit of ego, like you want to show off how far you've come in life, like that's alright every now and then, unless you're trying to not have an ego. But you know, it's about dreaming for what you really want and working for it and enjoying your work. People who make little money usually don't enjoy their work that much, or they learn to cope with it. They learn to just follow the system and just work for someone and be content because, you know, they can work. Yeah, I can work a bit. It's alright. This is what you have to do in order to survive. No! People with great money know that they can do whatever they want. They're going to be like, you know what? I know people are always telling me that you can't survive without doing a minimum wage job. Maybe I'll have one until I've saved up a lot of money, until I've found stability in this creative job I want to be doing. Oh, that's why I mentioned the music thing as well, because most people tell me that you can't make money with music. But here are all these students at my music school making more money than you ever would as a student. Maybe some people will be like, well, after I get a degree, I can make like, I can make more, but like so many students with degrees that can't find a good job, because musicians are creative people. They create their own job. They lead their own occupation. But most people with degrees, they have to find someone to hire them. You know, I'm not downplaying any of that, because I respect every single one of those, and if I were interested in any of them, I'd take it. You know, so it's not about that. It's not about comparison to put the other down. It's to show you that surprise, it's not luck. Surprise, it's passion. Surprise, you can do it. Surprise, you lead it. Surprise, YOLO. Surprise, hey, I'm Bill Gates. Surprise, I'm living my dream life, like that. So yeah, you know, people are always viewing the other side of the field as grayer, or like if it's greener, they're like, there must be something horrible about it. How can they do that? Simple trick. Twist your mind. Twist it. There's something you really want to do. Don't tell yourself it's not possible, no matter what material reasons there are, no matter how much debt you may be in, no matter how much whatever there is. Know that actually this is a life given to me anyway. Everything is here. What makes me so different from anyone else? It doesn't matter if you're short, tall, it doesn't matter if you even have certain weaknesses. Everyone has a weakness that they feel like no one else could have worse. You know, whether you have depression, whether you have social anxiety, whether you have a certain mental illness, whether you have vision problems, whether you have problems reading, counting, whatever it is, don't tell yourself you can't do it because of that weakness. That weakness is one area of your life. There's so many parts of you that are so great, and you're just made to tap into all of those areas. Explore them all. That's how people become rich, by exploring their horizons instead of just sticking to their weakness and being like, I'm going to stick to this comfy $15 an hour minimum wage job because that's stable. Don't have the mindset that this is going to keep you happy, unless you really don't mind just staying like this. Then that's great for you. Then that's your dream. But if you really want to be doing something but you think you can't do it, or like you find yourself getting jealous of people who are better off than you, and you're saying that, oh, they're just spoiled rich people, they don't get anything, they look down on us poor people. They don't look down on poor people, because guess what? Every rich person works so much and really deserves what they get. It's not about working hours, it's about being that much more mindful about it. And people who make so much money per hour do so because they literally deserve it, because they've done something to earn it. And you can too. Anyone can do this. They're not more special than you. They've just tapped into areas that you've been too scared to tap into. Just do it, man. You can. I know I can. I know you can. I know they can. She can. He can. We can. So let's all do it. And also, I just wanted to say, how do I tie this in with, there's no prejudice, there's only understanding. You know, there's so many differences between people, but no one's truly a bad word. There's only a reason for it, and there's only where they are right now. Doesn't define them as a person. I've learned this too. This does not define the rest of your life if you messed up once or 1 million times, because the 1 million and first time, 1 million and one, you could actually make it. You could always have made it. You could have made it from day one. Don't regret it. You always have a chance. Even if you made a mistake, you just do it. This time, just change your mind. Know that you can do it. And don't let the patterns make you think that it can't happen because of the logic. It just makes sense that it will fail this time. Don't think that. It won't fail if you know that it won't. And if you do end up failing, even while you're thinking that, then know that this is just because you only just turned your mindset around. It's just the start of filling up that bar, but you've already made progress towards where you really want to be. Even if the physical material proof is showing that maybe you failed again, even when you had the mindset that you'd win, you've already won. You've already won from having that mindset. So continue filling up that bar of winning, and once it fills up, that's when you'll hit the jackpot. That's when you'll start raking in the bucks, raking in the experiences in life, raking in the friends, raking in the joy, the peace, the variety you want in your life. By variety, I mean like you get to rest, you get to work, you get to do lots of different kinds of works that you enjoy. You know, some days you don't feel like walking around, so you'll do more of an office job. Some days you feel more like walking around, so you'll be more like trekking or whatever that all these creative people do to make money. Sometimes you feel antisocial, so you'll do work in the same field or just related to it, one of your expertises. You'll do more of an antisocial job that you want to do alone. Sometimes you want to socialize, you're in a mood to socialize, and so you do that part of your job where you get to like do business meetings with people, or even just like look like giving a tour guide to people around your company, or you know, doing live performances, or selling clothing to people, or speaking in front of people, presentations or promotions, or like boat sailing, you know, and being like a person who lets customers come onto the boat and like go sailing with him, or whatever it is. There's something for everyone. Live your dream. Literally live your dream. Like, no matter what anyone says, you have the power inside of you. Only you can really make your dreams come true. Don't give anyone else more credit than you give yourself. Don't let them be an ego boost, because the true you is beyond the ego. It's amazing, and it doesn't need an ego to prove its worth. It is its worth. You already are all that you've ever wanted to be. You just need to show it, and it'll start coming one by one, materially, physically, in your view, because you already have that all in your mind. You already are Bill Gates if you want to be. You already are Taylor Swift if you want to be. You already are a fashion designer if you want to be the biggest one, like Chanel or Guess, Gucci, YOLO. So there may be some points that I didn't close as satisfactorily as I would have liked to, like didn't resolve them as well as I'd like to, harmoniously as I would have liked to, but I think this is getting my point across overall now that you are the bomb. Go for it. So thanks for watching. See you later. Smell you later.